welcome to Career Conversations. I'm here with Trina and Olga from Rudel and Partner. Today we're going to be talking about virtual call and meeting professionalism and what that looks like. So Olga and Trina, I'll give you some time to introduce yourselves and Rudel and Partner.
Hi everyone, my name is Olga and I'm the firm here at Rudel and Partner. Rudel and Partner is a public accounting firm based out of Nuremberg, Germany. We have offices in 50 countries worldwide. That is about more than 5,000 employees.
Yeah, and I am Trina McWilliams. I am the firm recruiting manager. And here in the United States, we have about 280 employees over 9 offices. Our US headquarters is here in downtown Atlanta. And we do have offices, around the country, including Chicago, Manhattan, Houston, Detroit, Greenville, Charlotte, Birmingham, and Cincinnati. Cincinnati is our newest office, and it's actually a joint venture at the moment. So that rounds it out to 9.
Right. For our clients, we focus on foreign-owned subsidiaries, typically from German-speaking countries such as Austria, Switzerland, Germany. The clients we work with would sit here in the United States, but their parent company may sit over Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and a lot of our clients are in the manufacturing and distribution industries.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. So let's just get into it. I know that we're going to be talking about virtual call and meeting professionalism, but let's just talk about real quick a brief overview of what we understand professionalism to be. So sure. What does that look like?
Yeah, I would say professionalism is made up of, your appearance, your manners, communication style, how you interact with others, your approach to work, your interpersonal skills, and I would say your openness to grow.
Awesome. Yeah.
Exactly. And professionalism can be also learned through observing others and through personal experience.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So what can students do to make sure that they're professional online?
Yeah, I think that's kind of twofold. I think that you have like an online presence and then you have a way to act during meetings, right? Mm-hmm. So with your online presence, I would say to just make sure your social media is appropriate. I always suggest making your social media private, but if that's not something you want to do, then just make sure like anything you post is appropriate, that you wouldn't mind your coworkers or boss seeing.
Right.
And then when it comes to like meetings, I would say test technology before you get on your meeting. So, we all have those mix up sometimes, but I just think that it would be good to spend maybe the first 5 minutes before the meeting starts just to test audio, mic, Wi-Fi, etc. I would say dress appropriately for a meeting if you're at home. When I work from home, I tend to stay in my pajamas. So if I have a meeting, I just make sure I change real quick just to make sure I look appropriate for the meeting. And then your background, if you're at home and let's say your desk is in your bedroom, you might have your bed in the background or clothes thrown around your room. So just make sure that you have everything tidy in the background. I would suggest having one of those backgrounds that you can upload. I see, Amanda, that you have the blurred background. That's what I usually use. But there's a lot of like companies and schools, they have the logo backgrounds that you can upload. So you can always use that too.
Yeah.
I would say the last thing on my end would be distractions. When you are at home, sometimes you have people in the house or pets. I have a cat that loves to jump on my desk as soon as she hears that I'm on a virtual call. So I always have to like lock her in her room or else she'll make an appearance. So just those like distractions, make sure you're in a quiet place that people won't distract you.
My dog does that at home too. I'll be, I'll be like working, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden, as soon as she hears somebody else on the call or like on my computer, she's like, oh, what's going on? Let me come see you. Like, yeah.
And then you see me like doing this. Pushing my cat away.
Yeah, I would also say use a laptop instead of your phone. Avoid multitasking. Take some notes on a notepad and not using the computer. Make sure that your microphone is muted before typing.
Yeah. So I know we talked a little bit about like how you dress and things like that, but how much different is what we understand professionalism to look like in person than it is in a virtual setting?
Yeah, I would say we act different at home, right? So we're a lot more informal in both of our appearance and distractions. We might work on the couch with the news in the background, and that's okay as long as you're not distracted. So I think just understanding what your distractions are at home is important, and when to have that professional appearance in the meetings. When you're at the office, I'm not going to come into the office with my pajamas on,
Right.
but I can work and do my job in my work attire and pajamas. It's just, that's the difference almost, but.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So what is important? I mean, we talked about, testing your technology, limiting distractions, things like that. Is there anything else that is important, like not to do in a virtual meeting or call?
Yeah, I think it's always appropriate not early morning like meetings. You will have a cup of coffee though, so I guess that's okay. But if you're at home, I wouldn't take a meeting on your couch or your bed. It doesn't look. It kind of looks sloppy a little bit.
Yeah, especially if you can tell, right? So we're talking about like that border or something like that. I mean, you shouldn't be laying down on your bed when you take a meeting, but like if you're sitting up on your couch and you have like your laptop, up like this, and then you have a background you might not necessarily know, but that could also be a distraction where you're not like up and alert. And
that's a good point. I think like if you're on the couch, just don't slouch, don't like, slouch in here.
Just like really pull yourself into
Yeah.
the couch, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, if I can melt in here, I will feel better. Great. So are there any last advice or thoughts about what it's like to be professional on virtual calls or meetings?
Yeah, I would just suggest, everyone has their own style of professionalism. I think it's more about like the qualities you have, not your qualifications. So I think just be confident in the way you carry yourself, and interpersonal skills is also what makes someone professional. So interpersonal skills is something that can be taught. You can teach yourself to be professional. It's not something that you have to be born with.
I think a lot about like eye contact and things like that we do when we're in person. And so I know I often look to where the video of the person is on my screen, but at least you're like looking at the video, you are paying attention, you're engaging in the conversation. That we do those like nodding if you're engagement. And it can be different in the virtual call, but I just think about eye contact a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us about virtual calls and meeting professionalism. I enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
enjoyed it
Amanda.
too.